Hey, welcome back to the Marianne Hickman Show. And friends, this episode that I'm about to show you took a turn that I was not expecting. This episode with January Donovan, she's one of the women I revere most in the world. And that's a small group of people, but she is taking it upon herself to not only raise up a community of women who know how to be a strong force for influence and a strong force for good, but especially in times like now, she is taking it upon herself to make her voice louder and stronger and take more risks, because the message that she has for you, that she shares in this episode, it's going to be life-changing. Don't miss it. Check it out right now. Okay, so I wanted to know about your most recent post about, like, I watched that the hurricane was rolling in. I think it was that night you posted just before that. Tell me what that meant. Like, there's something smelly or fishy about this storm.
Well, I think there's something smelly fishy in our country, period. And
Well, amen.
And so I tend to not be a woman of courage, to be honest. I've been sort of timid. I try to keep it into personal development, but if I'm really brutally honest, I'm pretty fiery about what's happening in our country. And I don't think I can stay silent no more, to be sincerely honest. And so, a lot of people that, are students are always like, Jenny, don't get political. I'm like, this is not political. This is spiritual. As a matter of fact, because you're silent and I am, this is why evil is growing massively. So I get really upset at myself for my timidness and perhaps my fear. So my new commitment is actually, if I'm truly myself, I'll probably be really bold and fiery if I'm honest with myself. But I haven't been, Marianne. I've been afraid to be honest.
That shocks me to hear that from you, because you are such a bold woman.
Well, thank you.
You
I
are.
appreciate it. Well, yeah, but I think, I just went on a retreat. My root sin is vanity. The things that you struggle with the most.
Yeah.
Vanity meaning that I fear the opinion of those people. It's not that I'm worried about what people think, but it's
Right.
that I want to be able to sort of not make a kind of fuss, and um I know what you don't make a shift in culture unless you're polarizing, period. Like, you look, I know that intellectually I don't want to endure the crucifixion of criticism. I don't.
Mm.
I live a really beautiful life. My home life is peaceful. It's glorious. My marriage is thriving. Like, literally, it's like I want to, like, not have a public life. My life is so simple and beautiful. But I would die a slow death if I literally stayed quiet.
Mm.
And I would be culpable before God, which
I
is my.
think there's something to be said about that. And I think the reason that we're experiencing the upheaval and the unrest and the sickness and the destruction of families is because people like me and people like you, we keep to ourselves insofar as, yes, my family is functional and that's what I want. My nucleus of my community is functioning and I worked hard to get it there, and that's what I want. And if I go public or get louder, then it
Yes.
puts, at least we perceive that it puts a lot of that at risk, and we don't want to sacrifice what we worked so hard to build to speak up. And the tragedy of that is that people on the opposing forces, and not
Yes.
even just people, that the opposing darkness is
It's dark.
not afraid to be loud,
Correct.
and it's
It,
not afraid to sacrifice things. And I was like, well, crap.
yes.
Hey, what's up? Marianne Hickman here. Listen, I'm interrupting my own show because I want to give you something. Now, you guys all want to get on more stages. I got a free resource for you of stages that are just clamoring for guests. They need guests on a daily, weekly, sometimes monthly basis. This is my podcast database. Now, what I'm going to do is have you go to mariannehickman.com/database. Once you put in your information there, I'm going to send this to you totally for free. Open up this database. You're going to click through it, find the next podcast that's relevant to your topic, hit the application button, show up on their podcast, get in front of their people, and share your content. Remember, mariannehickman.com/database. Let's get you unlocked.
And there's a quote that haunts me as I've recently, and it said, violence is not what's caused destruction. It's the people who's silent in the face of violence that
Mm.
destroy is the world. And honestly, Marianne, it punches me because I have sacrificed comfort. I've sacrificed courage for comfort. The comfort of being the unknown, the comfort of not having to wrestle, the comfort of not having to fight people, because I think it's an emotional toll on my mental health to fight courageously because you have people that just are going to attack you. Like you know, but the alternative is to watch a world that my children will grow up where they don't have free speech, where they're not healthy, where the family values are, I mean, we are literally going through a moral decay. And I should just live in my quiet, perfect, beautiful, silent life.
Mm.
Like, honestly, Marianne. And so I'm like, January, choose your heart. Like the heart of a life of comfort, because a life of comfort is hard, or the life of adventure. And that's what Jordan Peterson always tells me. And I think part of it is that we have to be so focused on our purpose, our divine purpose. And I think we have a universal divine purpose, and that is to do what is true, good, and beautiful. But what is my unique purpose as a mother, like you, as an entrepreneur, and to not allow the critics. And when I say critics, these are people that we surround ourselves with. I think that the army that you surround yourself with determines if you're going to fuel your courage or not. And I
Amen.
don't necessarily think that I'm surrounded with people that are bold and courageous. I think I'm surrounded, and I don't say that I choose to.
Right.
I choose to surround myself with people that don't want to ruffle the feathers, maybe for my own sake. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if I can watch our world go in array without me standing up for truth. Like, I just listened to Robert Kennedy, where the congressional hearing, they just destroyed him. And I could cry because this man's courage. I'm like, that is what I want. That is what we are all born for. That is what we're created for. To literally look at the face of evil, of defamation, of such critics and say, actually, you are lying. Actually. And he said, but it's not this like right and left. It's like, can we break bread with people with opposing views?
Mm-hmm.
Can we have friends with people who have completely different religious beliefs? Like, make America decent again. I mean, sincerely,
Yeah.
I look at what's happening in our culture with Diddy, with all these, and I'm like,
Oh,
how did we get here? And Marianne, I look at myself. January, you got here because you were way too comfortable in your silence and you lacked the courage because you live in fear and you want the comfort of everyone liking you as opposed to fighting for what is true and good and beautiful. I'm like, shame on you.
mm.
I feel that in my gut. How can I model courage for my children if I just want to not deal with it? Like, really? And when you look at history, even if you go look at, and I'm Catholic, and you look at Genesis, the strength of the woman, which God endowed in her, actually is her capacity for influence.
Amen.
That is the strength. But look at what happened 150 years ago. A woman's influence in our culture, I believe that women should have the freedom to be in the marketplace. But if you look at the radical agenda that's being handed down if you look at the history of Marxism, of communism, and the infiltration that they had in the women and in the home, and literally the devaluing of masculinity, that was a woman's influence in our education system, in Hollywood, in our politics. That was a woman's ability to enable evil and a lack of moral life. Like, that is the power of a woman.
Well,
But
and
there,
that's the tragedy, is that the opposing forces are leveraging it and
oh,
making the light seekers and the light doers think that it doesn't exist.
yes. And simultaneously, good women should never stay silent. Why can't women who are aspiring for goodness, who are aspiring for a moral and virtuous life, be just as loud?
We have an obligation to be.
Correct. But we have been literally so sheepish. And I am talking to myself. So, where does that post come from? From my own accountability.
Oh,
What are you, January, for being silent? What are you for not questioning? But like, I'm willing to be wrong. I don't have all the answers. I'd love to engage a conversation. Give me an opposing opinion. Show me. I don't know. It's so hard to decipher actually what even is data right now. It's just because mainstream media, known fact, is covering a lot of data that we should, as a public, should know. So where do you go? You go to alternative source of information. Who knows if they're accurate or not? But what I do know is our health industry is absolutely corrupt,
oh,
and that should unite us.
and it's been used as a tool against us. We saw that 4 years ago. It's
It's
a divisive tool.
it's such, but that's the thing. It should also be a united tool, which is why I think women, we should really come together, reach down the aisle, have actually decent, healthy conversation, and say, if we can unite ourselves into one thing, it's to be healthy.
Yeah.
It's for the health of our children.
Mind,
Like,
body, and spirit.
yes, but like I want the data for the vaccine. Show me. Show me all your, but the hardest part, I think, is that the I would say the lack of training for women to develop their own skill set and their home life and their work life has caused us to be overwhelmed, that there's no room for us for courage.
Well, and this is why I'm so inspired by your mission, by your calling, by the school that you've built, because there is the most fundamental thing about who we are as women has never come with a manual, at least not in a way that you have aggregated and created processes for how to become a woman. And a lot of people will hear that and they'll be like, okay, so you're trying to train me to be a 1950s subservient housewife. And that's the furthest thing from the truth,
Yes, it is
right?
the truth. Yes, correct.
I've watched what you've built as a mom from a distance. Sometimes we get to be in the same room and I relish those moments.
Okay.
But I watch what you do as a mom of 8 kids, and I watch what you and your husband have built as far as a business. And it is so underscored by the symbol that a friend of mine has tattooed on his ring finger. He's got an ampersand tattooed
Mm.
on his finger to represent, and I get to be a amazing mother and an amazing entrepreneur. And I get to build a business with my husband. I'm getting goosebumps just saying that, like, for us to believe the lie that we have to sacrifice one to build another is what is crumbling us at the core. I'm sitting here with my daughter in the room in my studio, and I couldn't be happier. I want her to hear these conversations. I want her to hear what it looks like to imbue in ourselves a sense of courage. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, Addie, would you mind? Oh, thank you so much. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, as you're talking, like I'll remember where I was. I was driving home. I was about a block from home, and this happened less than a month ago. It's like I feel emotional about this because I have been so repulsed by politics. I don't like how they work in companies. I don't like how politics runs our country. I don't even like the definition of politics. But this punch to my gut came, and it said to me, the proverbial Karen is flourishing in politics and it is destroying what you care about. So, in order for you to build what you care about, you probably ought to step up and take a place in politics. And my first gut was like, no, please, God, don't make me do this.
Join the club.
I don't want to.
It's the last thing I told myself I'll ever do. I'm like, I would die before I would get into politics. It's like I've said that about business as well. But anyways,
Right. But look what's happening.
yeah. Look what's happening. And I do think there is a rise of a new kind of woman, which is, by the way, the new woman masterclass. I called it the new woman because I think it's not this 1950s woman, but it's not this woman who I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whomever I want. Neither works, and we have data to support it.
Yep.
This new one understands, because Virtue's right in the middle. She understands that she can do both. She understands that she doesn't have to sacrifice both. She needs to train harder than your average woman. She's got to get on both her knees, but on her training skill. Like, how do you become an Olympian? You train every single day. Like, how do you become a great mother and a great entrepreneur? You train every single day. We have that at our disposal. Like you said, we've been sold a lot. You have to choose one or the other. And by the way, this lie is sold on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when I started doing this, Marianne, my biggest critic was a far right, like stay home mom. So like you could never be a good mom and also build a business. I lost great friends. And honestly, I almost quit this work. And I was doing it for free for 15 years because I had my own best friend said, I started doing like a Facebook and I started putting blog. This was like, I don't know, 12 years ago. And she's like, you're becoming, it's all about the money. And this is all about pride. And I remember like we've come through, she's apologized for it, but I couldn't shake it off for years because I felt so called to train women because they were suffering right and left in front of me. I mean, I had front row seat to women's marriages that were falling apart, look good on the outside. They didn't sleep together on the inside. Oh, let's preach a beautiful our faith, right? Our faith. Look, their children are not faithful because their lives are not inspiring. They're a hot mess mama, and it's not this hot mess where you have to be perfect, but it's like this look at this perfect world outside, but the inside, they literally had no skill set. How would they? I mean, if you think about it, we have no home economics, we have no budgeting skills, we don't even have skills on how to speak appropriately to manage our mind management, none of which for 20 years of education our children do not learn. Like, just think about the deficit that you and I have had to endure our own suffering because of a lack of training. Like, honestly.
Oh, it's
And
not in our school systems by a long shot.
yes, but also are the women, I think, that have infiltrated this radical lies that you can't be both, or that you have to do whatever you want, whatever you feel like. Freedom is not doing whatever you want.
Oh, I was so mad at Elsa when
Wait,
she abandoned the cartoon
you
of
mean the
Frozen,
parent? Oh, I was like, is there an
right?
Elsa? No, you mean the actual cartoon? Yes.
I was livid when she was celebrated for abandoning her responsibilities in a
Isn't
castle
that
of self
amazing? I didn't even think
vanity,
about that. Whoa, I didn't even think about that.
right?
Well, that is what we celebrate today. Hey, listen, you can't, we just abandon any kind of responsibility. Sleep with whoever you want, whenever you want. I mean, I just had this like I follow certain people and it's like they were doesn't matter, wherever side of the aisle they were making fun of the fact that this meme that said that, President Kamala has slept her way through the presidency. I don't know. I don't judge
We
her. I
weren't
don't.
there. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. But the comments underneath it were, I'd like to sleep my way through that. I mean, what's wrong with your vagina getting you up there? If my vagina can do that, why can't her? I mean, I was like, where's the decency? Where's the reverence for our bodies? Where is the ability to command our mouth, our thoughts, and command a level of self-respect that we don't talk that way?
Oh
This has
God.
nothing to do with that. I mean, I'm literally sitting here and I'm like, what happened to the decent women? Where are they? But rightfully so, women who are busy raising their family, I don't want to get in the middle of it. We
Right?
equally as I was there. I'm like, I don't want to get in the middle of it. I mean, do you think that it's no different? And I get a lot of people that are like January. This is like I get fiery, but like,
I love
sometimes.
that about you. Bring it.
But sometimes guys would be like, I am mom of eight, right? And so I go to these parties and it's like, and I talk I'm like, we need to do something. There's a level of urgency. We can't sit back. January, you just be a good mom.
Oh, what's with this just?
Okay, you just be a good mom, and that's how you change the world. I'm like, so you're telling me if I'm a good mom, that is how I change the world as long as I change my 8 kids. How selfish is that? It's like telling somebody, just make enough money to serve your family. Done with that crap. I mean, this is poverty mentality. That's
It
like,
is.
as long as you take care of your family, make just enough for your family. And by the way, don't think of other people. Like, how selfish is that? But, but Marianne, how prevalent is that thought process?
Oh, it's everywhere. I mean, that's revered as abundance. They say, I just want to make enough for my family, and they think they're wealthy in doing that. That
Yeah,
it's black called white and right called wrong. If I am not providing dreams empires big enough that other people's dreams can live inside it, then what the heck am I building?
correct.
Entrepreneurship, the reason that you have a job, if you have a job, is because someone had dreams big enough that they started a company that could employ you and provide for your family.
Which is our education system. This is my daughter. Okay, she's in a great school, and she comes home. She's like, "Mom, I think I'm going to homeschool next year." I mean, great school, and I said, "Why?" I said, every time I talk about the," she goes, "Well, Mom, every time I talk about the importance of wealth, everybody just sort of like, what's why?" She's like, "Well, what did you say?" He's like, "Well, you need to have money to have a happy marriage." And everybody's like, "No, you don't." He's like, "Well, where do you have money for date night?" It's like,
Right?
"Where do you have money for adventure?" She's like, "That's what you and dad do." He's like, "I don't get this mindset, Mom. Like, I don't get this mindset that you don't need money." And she was just like, I don't know if I can like go through another school, Mom, because I don't want that polluting my mind. This is my 15-year-old daughter.
At a girl.
And yeah, she is quite, and it's a great school, and I said that. What I'm trying to say is that it's so prevalent that it's become such a norm
Yeah.
that we parrot the same mindset. We don't even think about what we're saying, Marion, which is a skill in itself. Think about what we're thinking. Think about it. I just make enough money for ourselves. Like, everybody just parrots it. Take care of it. Priest, I love priest. I'm Catholic. I'm like my biggest Catholic fan, probably the biggest critic as well. People love me and people don't like me for that. That's fine. I've got to walk my own courage walk. But like, stop telling me to live a life of poverty and then ask money from me.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
The
The
contradiction in
hypocrisy.
the hypocrisy. And like, I think it's not modeled well in our culture. This is why I admire Elena. Elena,
Oh, I know. I
I
was going to
don't
ask how that's going.
well, we had a great conversation. I don't think she didn't really, she wanted to learn more about the women's school, but I think that's a conversation in itself. I think that,
Yeah.
do I really want to bring the women's school underneath the Grant Cardone brand? I'm not really sure it's in harmony. So anyways, but I think that there's a quote that I love, and it says, "The problem with darkness isn't darkness, it's lack of light." And if we right now, what we are seeing is sort of these two radical extreme, either stay home mom or you abandon, it's just two radical extremes. I think
Hmm.
what we need are models of what it's like to live an inspiring life, regardless of what you're called to do. Like, our children, you know, I get a lot of women that says, "January, my kids are no faith. No, they don't live a virtuous life. They don't have faith. They don't have morals." I'm like, are they inspired by who you are?
Oh,
Because they're
that's
not
such a
going to listen.
hard question.
It's a very hard question because
Oh,
unless they're inspired by who you are, you're not going to have credibility in their mind. I said, if your children lose your faith, you can't just teach them about their faith, about a moral life, if they're looking at your life and they don't like the life you're living.
yeah.
And
But
these
it,
are gut punches, Marianne. I'm not
they
telling you that,
are.
but we've been a victim of the fact of lack of training, which is obviously why I'm so convicted about it. But I'm like, most of us are suffering because nobody showed us how. You and I mean, I've suffered a lot in my life. Nobody showed me. I didn't have a mother that showed me. My mom was a great mom. And because of that, I suffered. And I think that we owe it to the next generation to say, if we prepared you with the right training and the right skill set, maybe you will actually fulfill your divine purpose and live an unfulfilled life. Because here's what I see the data is: an unfulfilled woman is so dangerous to society.
Because the influences stays high.
Well, she's susceptible to manipulation,
Hmm.
she's susceptible to every other agenda. And because she's unfulfilled, she's searching for pleasure.
I have to tell you this conversation I had with a friend of mine the other day that scared me.
Mhm.
I was chatting with her, and I love this woman. I've been very, very inspired. And I got on the phone with her and I said, tell me what you're building. Tell me about your big dreams. Tell me what you want to create. And the answer that I got gave me a stomach ache.
Mm.
And I've been wrestling with this. I've been talking to another group of my friends about this all morning. And the answer that I got was, well, I'm just going to go wherever God calls me.
I hear it
And
once a day.
and it's on the one hand beautiful because it sounds like you're open to inspiration, which is so admirable. But what scared me about it was this wandering.
Right.
And I think it was in Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. I hope I'm quoting the
Oh
right
yeah,
book.
love that book.
But the danger that we have is thinking that we are operating in alignment, but we are in the midst of darkness, waiting for something to affect us or waiting for the light to be shown upon us when we are to be the producers of the light. We
Co-creators.
are the ones that are supposed to call the direction, cut the path, make it happen. And God's sitting there, in my experience, sitting there saying, Marianne, I'm waiting for you to show up so I can add rockets to your ship.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really sad because it's been seen as a moral high ground. That's what's sad.
Yes.
And that to me is like, even God can't steer a parked car. I'm waiting for God to help me lose weight. Honestly, and I won't take action, have a plan for losing weight. See, that's a very simple analogy that kind of wakes people up like, oh yeah, you're right. You can't do that. But with everything else, you're like, no, no, I've got to wait on God. I'm like, no. It's really an excuse for a lack of skill. It's an ex because they don't actually know what to do to create something, to envision, to plan, because those skills were never created. So I'm not faulting women for the excuse. They literally don't know what to do, Marianne.
I think you just nailed it, and it's not. And I hope my sweet friend, if she ever hears that, she feels respected and loved because it's not a like you said, it's not a fault of desire. It's out of a desire to do the right thing and to go where you feel called and to do things that are scary. But maybe fear is not the right word, but the trepidation that I have
Mhm.
is that you're called for so much more, and every minute that you don't spend building it is another minute that never exists.
Right.
And there are
Right.
people waiting for us. I think you're going to tattoo the word courage on my brain after today's conversation
Well,
because,
I'm trying to tattoo it on my brain.
oh, I love your vulnerability there because it inspiring me. I see myself as a pretty fiery woman,
Oh, you are. I think we
you
share it
know.
with each other.
That's what I love about you. But
I-
when I look forward and say, what are the things that make me cry with fear? It's putting my kids at risk, and I have this delusion that I if I speak up that will happen, and that's where the faith comes in.
You're right. That's true faith, actually, because faith is actually moving into action without guaranteed results.
Yeah.
Your friend unknowingly is to wait for guaranteed results to move into action. How does a woman grow in faith if she actually sees a path forward and that's the only option, or I would say way she actually moves forward? That's why a dream fuels greater faith.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when you don't have a dream, how do you grow in courage or faith? You can't. You're literally you're doing the same thing over and over again, year after year, same woman, same frustration. 20 years later, you're looking at your life, you're like, what didn't I do? It's the
Oh.
regret of dying. And it's because they had no training. They say, in order for God's dream to actually be revealed, you have to actually take the next step. I mean, look at all through scripture. You got to move into action, and then the next step is revealed. And the next step is revealed. We want the blueprint in front of us before we take action. How does a woman grow in faith or courage?
Mm-mm.
You have to move into crazy action.
I think it was Alex Hormozy that said if you want to if you pray for patience, how is God going to teach you patience other than giving you opportunities to be patient? If
Yes,
you want
it's
courage, how are you supposed to grow that muscle unless you're giving opportunities to exercise it?
yeah, and so this just recent story. We were coaching someone, Ryan was coaching somebody, and he was saying, I've kind of fallen in the deep end a little bit, kind of just not really training, and then blame sort of. He went to kind of his maybe spiritual director, right? Like I don't know if it was a priest, and he's like, "Well, when did Satan enter the garden?"
Mm.
That's the question. And so I'm like, why do we quickly blame Satan or God for our lack of discipline? Like, so the fact that we're not consistent in our habits of studying every day, taking action every day, and developing our skill. All of a sudden, Satan entered the garden. I was like, uh, an undisciplined woman is it's Satan's playground. He doesn't need to do anything. I'm like, don't give the devil credit he actually doesn't deserve for your lack of skill training.
Oh, amen. Well, and it's just robbing us of our choice. That the biggest
Yes.
gift we were given when we came here was the ability to choose. And we think that that's right from wrong, and it's not. It is the ability to create, it is the ability to design, it is the ability to take ownership. And when we blame Satan, he wears many disguises, right? He likes to wear the disguise of I don't exist, which I think is a fallacy. He likes to wear the disguise of it was my fault, not yours, and take credit for all of these things, as you said. And for us to think that he has that much power only gives it to him.
Correct.
We were imbued with the
Takes it
power
away from
to,
us
we'll say that again.
and takes it away from us,
Yes.
from our duty, our responsibility. And imagine year after year. Like that's the crazy part. Year after year, why are your kids just, off the deep end? The devil. We have I mean, like, or maybe your life wasn't inspiring because you're not studying on a daily basis, or maybe you need to build better routine. Maybe you should be studying every single day. I mean, that's my point is that training allows us to live God's design for us. The only way to fulfill our unique, irreplaceable purpose, you, Marianne, me, that's unique to anyone, is that we show up to training every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that. We know we imperfectly, like amidst all the different things that are thrown at us. But this is why I think a woman who has a fixed mindset is incapable of growing is really dangerous. It's
Especially if she doesn't know she's there.
Yes, and that's the problem. It's like because it's the silent woman who is incapable of actually having the courage to fight the evil around her. She can't. She's not growing, she has no skill set, and she's just sort of like, let me just get by with taking care of my family. But she's frustrated inside. Why? Because she's made for more, just like you're made for more. And so how do we move on? How do we change the landscape of our culture right now where we're be healthy, where we have honest, decent human beings that are leading us? Because our leadership is failing us. Doesn't matter which side of the aisle you are,
It's true.
it's failing us. So we have to what? Raise moral, noble children. We have to inspire them. I'm like, you know what the number one skill I think mothers need to have? Well, maybe there's a lot of number one, but sales. We have to sell our to our children all day long.
It's true. I was working on that with my son this morning. It was trying to pitch him on a level of care.
Yeah.
You know, empty the lawnmower when you're done and make sure that you're not wearing the same clothes 3 days in a row,
No good for crying out loud. Like, I mean, basic, like, and we think sales is sleazy. I'm like, well, because we don't have good sales training. But if you actually think about it, how sleazy we become, a naggy, because we don't have sales training for our children. I mean, there's just so much narrative that needs to be sort of flipped.
Mm-hmm. We've been
And
lied to.
we've been lied to. And I'm like, so who's going to stand up against his lies? It's you.
It's me, and it's people like you, thank God, that I have someone next to me to do it with, because it is freaking scary. And now I'm just like, gosh, are we running for president now, January? Is that what we're
No,
doing?
I will not be part of politics. But I always say this. I'm like, I will not be part of politics. But if I were to, I would find a way to have American women, mothers have full-time live-in help. That's the only, I'm like, that's the policy I will fight for. I'm like, that to me would solve postpartum depression, a lot of depression, I'm like, women are not created to do it on their own. We're not.
No, we're created to help each other.
Correct. And to be in a community, to be with each other, to have actually help. Like I have to sell women on a housekeeper. And I'm like, if that housekeeper is going to help you snuggle bug with your children and you can have 1 hour of somebody, not even a housekeeper, cleaning lady. You know why? Because we've been sold that to be a strong woman, which we all innately desire, we have to do it all by ourselves. That is the definition of a strong American woman. Lies, lies, lies.
Yeah. And how dare we rob the opportunity for someone to make a living who would be glad to come clean our homes?
Correct. Or the pride of thinking we can do it on our own, and we are suffering a life of overwhelm because of it. By the way,
I it just makes me think of there's a woman who works for us in the Philippines. Her name is Heaven. And it's such a perfect name. And at risk, I know some people listening are going to say, well, that's just your snobbery of entitlement or whatever. BS. I worked my ass off to get to where I am. And to get the email from Heaven that said, hey, I'm going to get emotional. She said, hey, I'm going to take 2 weeks off because I'm able for the first time to bring my 15-year-old son and introduce him to my parents. I've never been able to afford that before. And for my husband and I to look at each other and say, I don't know how much of our paycheck that we sent her and able to do that. But what I do know is that she can, and she wasn't able to before we met. And so maybe in some way we helped a family come together.
Yeah. I mean,
we have a responsibility to not only help each other, but provide for each other. If she's helping me write emails and I'm helping her take her son to see her parents for the first time, I want to do more of that. I'm chasing that feeling.
yeah. Which is why I think part of virtue is making a whole lot of money without compromising your marriage, your family, your faith. I think if we are going to make saints of tomorrow, that's what sanctity looks like. I'm like, show me a woman who's going to scale her business and makes billions of dollars and live a marriage that's so inspiring. A mother who does not compromise the health of her children, the quality of her home, the quality of her marriage, and she's building a business. That woman is hard at work. And that's the model of woman that we need for such a time as this. Because this idea that you need to be broke to be holy, like, stop it.
It's garbage. It's
Well, I
absolute
have to
garbage.
sell women on it, to be honest, because, like, okay, women, why should we not aspire for great wealth? You and I, our relationship started because I had a bondage about the idea of building wealth. I have been so ostracized, Marianne,
Mm.
by the fact that I am building wealth, by the very community. I mean, not all women, obviously, like, it's foreign to them, the idea that's like January Donovan, mom of eight, building, wealth. But really, a lot of my pain has come from just being misunderstood about the fact that I'm like, why should we not aspire for great wealth? And
Yeah.
it's like a dirty language. Once again, this is like an act of courage on my end. I'm like, well, why? I'm ready to fight it. I'm ready to be like, well, your call is different from mine. I am called to build great wealth, and I will die with none of it on my own. But I hope that the legacy I live is that I have done what God has asked me to do. So I want to go to the pearly gates and say, well done, my good and faithful servant. And if that call was because I needed to build wealth to get more money, I'm like, it's not enough to think about the health industry and the money that they have pumped to literally get us sick to what Hollywood's influence on our youth right now. And you tell me we should not make a lot of money? Shame on you. Shame on you for keeping us small and allowing evil grow.
Amen. That
But
has
shame
been
on
my
you,
mission.
January. But Marianne, shame on me for literally becoming a victim to that narrative. I lived it.
We both
I,
did.
yeah, and I went to that event with you literally like bondage. And I'm like, I want to be free from this. And that was like a year ago. I don't know, maybe it was a year and a half ago. I
I
don't
think it was
understand.
even longer.
I can't, yeah. And literally, like, it's been quite a journey of courage to say, I have to go before God and say, January, I have called you to build wealth. I have called you to do this, and He is who I answer to. And I have to stop pretending that I'm listening to everyone else because it's crucifying me, to be honest.
There are so many people who will find you and you will be their linchpin. I mean, you know this. I know you've seen them in vision, in meditation. I mean, I'm inspired by you
Oh,
all the time. I am motivated and inspired by you, and I take pages from your book literally and metaphorically and spiritually. And it is, if there's any reassurance that I can offer in this great grand mission, is that there are more of us out there.
yeah. Thank you. I will receive it with great gratitude, but also accountability. Um, Honestly, friendship. I will tell you, Marianne, leadership has been a lonely road for me. I'm not lonely in a sense because I have an incredible marriage, but it's been hard to find women who actually can walk alongside this because it's like asking somebody to throw themselves in the fire.
Yeah.
So I take your encouragement, your friendship, with deep reverence. I don't take it lightly. I'm very grateful for it, and um, I pray that you do your work to wake women up and to continue to grow your mission and your call for courage. I just think the time is up.
It's not come, it's up.
Yep. And I can leave us with this, and in Esther, I just went on a whole retreat on Esther, and it's a really a great book in the Bible because if you stay silent, the word will still continue, but your family will perish.
Mm,
And I've made you for such a time as this, which means that there's graces that we were created in this time, and that we have a duty in this time, and that our silence will be our own crucifixion.
mm.
So I hope you join me in this courage walk.
Oh, girl, I am in. I have the goosiest of bumps right now. And I just want to plaster, like, right with a gold Sharpie all over the walls of this studio, everything that I can draw from women of scripture, from women in my circles, from not just women either, because your message is so important, and this is why I'm so grateful that you have what you have for everyone that's listening. It's the kind of femininity that we espouse is the feminine. And I like to put it this way: women are allowed to have pockets in their dresses without stealing the pockets from men.
Great. Thank you. It's not either or. It's not
Right.
either. Yes.
We celebrate our husbands, they celebrate us, and the yin and yang of the masculine and feminine is the essential pattern to have the whole.
It's the whole, which is what the women's school is really about making women whole again. That's
Mhm.
a whole thing. The new woman is actually a whole version of herself.
Yeah, we've just forgotten.
We've just forgotten, or we just don't know how to. And
Yeah.
so, we are made for such a time as this. And I think courage beats courage. And I just hope for all your listeners that if this stirs in their heart, speak up, don't be silent. Train
Well,
up. That's what I would say. Skill up and train up.
yes. And I want to push everyone into your world that resonates with you. You brought a book that we're going to put in the show notes. Will you just tell everyone a little bit about what's in it?
Yeah, so it's called Redefine Success for Women. Success has always been about achievement, not about fulfillment. And so this book actually is a blueprint, step by step, from a mom of 8 children while also building a multi-million-dollar business without compromising her marriage, of what it's like to actually design a life that fulfills you, not rooted in achievement, but we are to achieve things, but that doesn't become the goal only. It's fulfillment because what good is achieving things if we've lost ourselves?
Mhm.
So success then is redefined as a whole version of woman that becomes a fulfilled version of herself. But every part is whole because if you're honest, you want it all.
We do. We just have to give ourselves permission to be that brutally honest.
Correct. And so the woman's school is about you having it all. It's training. It's not a walk in the park. But if you truly want it all, and it's not fluff, 25 years in the making, a comprehensive training, skill per skill. I mean, bare bones, 100 skills is what we teach, very basic skills that you don't learn. Um, and that's what we offer you in the women's school. And our students watch a course 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And it's not a short course.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm passionate about it. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to to share my heart, because I think it burdens me not to share it.
Well, it's an honor to give it yet another stage, and it will continue to appear on stages. I will do everything in my power to promote your mission and your calling because I believe in it so much.
Thank you.
I want every woman that I ever teach to appear on stage to have gone through your course and gone through your program, because I want her to understand who she is so that she can influence others for good that may listen to her. So if you're listening to this to right now and you're a dude, send this to your woman. If you're a woman listening to this right now, grab this. I want you to get January's book. It's in the show notes. I want you to join her school community. I'm a part of it. I'm inspired by it on the daily. I want you to find January all over social media. I'm going to post all of her stuff in the show notes because we are in this together, and it is our job to place upon each other the crowns that deserve to be on our heads, and sometimes straighten them when they're a little bit crooked without telling the world that they're crooked. And we get to show up for each other, and January is a shining example of that. And it is all that I can do to share the gift of who she is with my universe.
Well, thank you for your sincerity. I think we're hungry for sincere women in friendship. So I really honor it. I don't take it lightly. Thank you for having me here, and for always honoring me, Marianne. You're always honoring me, and I really am grateful. So
I appreciate you and who you are. I'm lucky to have you in my circle.
likewise. Well, thank you. Till the next fiery conversation.
I know. Well, friends, thank you for joining us right here on the Marianne Hickman Show. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like it and subscribe. Keep an eye on your email for the next episode drop. And of course, visit the show notes for all of January's blessings that she's giving to you. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, what's up? Marianne Hickman here. Hey, listen, I hope you enjoyed that episode. We have some pretty amazing speakers on my podcast, and of course, more to come. If this is something that you enjoyed, guys, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. You guys know what to do. I love your comments, and I respond to every single one of them personally, not a bot or an agency. So if this is something you're enjoying, tell me about it. Tell me your gold nuggets. I want to hear from you. But here's the most important thing I want you to laser in on. I told you about the podcast database. You've probably seen me post about it all over social media. I want to make sure that you get it. So here's what I want you to do. Go to mariannehickman.com/database. Once you put all of your information in there, I'm going to send you the document. You request access to it. Boom, it's unlocked. Once you're in there, my rule of thumb is to apply to 10 podcasts a month. It's very digestible. It's very easy to do. And the database gets updated twice a week. So I want you constantly checking back in there for the next podcast that fits your audience. Thank you for being here. Much love to you, and we'll see you in the next episode.